Welcome to In These Strange Times, a series featuring Tulsans in conversation about the individual and collective changes we're all experiencing this year in 2020 and beyond. I'm your host, Alexander Tamahn, and this episode is called Homeschooled. Well, thank you everyone for spending this beautiful Saturday with us. Why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves, tell us a little bit about what you do. Let's start to my right.
Hi, I am Gina Wilson and I am the school principal for Tulsa Virtual Academy. I am an educator, I am a mother of a college student and of an 11th grader.
I'm Anna Barros. I'm a teacher, 6th grade teacher at the Tulsa School of Arts and Sciences. I teach an amazing group of 11-year-olds who blow my mind every day. I am also an educator. I've taught here in Tulsa. This is now my 3rd year. I used to teach at East Central Junior High, 7th and 8th grade, social studies all of these years. I'm from Brazil and I was raised in Venezuela. My identity as a Latina, as an immigrant, is really important to me, and that's what I bring to the classroom. And I'm also an artist, so I have a zine. It's called Don't Panic.
My name is Michel Diarra. I'm from a French country in West Africa. I've been in the US for about 5 years now. I came as an international student for my senior year in high school at Victory Christian. Then I transferred to Tulsa Community College, and I'm currently at TU studying marketing and economics.
As education is what's bringing us all together for this conversation, let's talk about it. How's it been? What has your experience been personally, and kind of how that pertains to the professional?
It's been different.
Yeah.
It's been exciting, unsure about a lot of things. This is the first for a lot.
Yeah.
So this is the first pre-K through 12th grade school for Tulsa Public Schools that is 100% virtual.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time, but I also understand on the flip side, it's really, really scary. And it's parents are nervous and students are nervous because of the unknown.
Yeah.
And so it is the unknown of what is this going to look like? How is this going to impact my child 2 years from now? That is the part that keeps educators up at night, and I'm sure parents up at night, making sure that we're still able to tap into that social emotional space that students need, that social part that they may be missing. But overall, I'm going to say it's going well.
Yeah.
It's going well for us to be up and going and engaging with students.
Yeah.
And there's still some things that we need to work out as parents. On my end, I have a child in virtual learning, and I need to do a better job as a parent of, actually, what are you doing in that room? Did you really turn the assignment in? And I need to, on the parent side, be more patient with my student and with their teachers. And so that is what I'm learning on the parent side, because I have both lenses. I do understand the phone calls and the emails of why is this happening and what's happening. And then on the flip side, I find myself doing that to my daughter's teachers. So I'm learning grace, I'm learning patience, and as an educator, it's really hard for me to say, I'm learning that I don't know it all.
But Anna, what about your experience, especially as an educator?
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of this reigns true.
Oh, absolutely. I think, the tried and true statement of being a teacher is I'm a planner.
Yeah.
I'm a planner. So much of my life has been unplanned. So much of my life has required flexibility and improvisation and relying on community. And so I know that I have the skills. I just really love being able to plan and have some degree of control. Going along with what Gina was saying, I'm learning to give myself a lot of grace. And before all of this, I had this idea that all I can control are the 4 walls of my classroom, and now those 4 walls are gone, and it's what can I control? And now I'm kind of reflecting on the way that I didn't even have control in the 4 walls of my classroom either, right? Every child has their own little inner world that is spinning, and I had an illusion of any degree of control, and I never did. And I think that's a really liberating thing to feel, right? Like now I think we're seeing what kids are really capable of, because we are really raising the bar for them, you know, like, and we're almost having to redefine, like, what is the role of a parent?
Yeah.
What is the role of a family member? What is the role of a teacher? Like, there actually should never have been a divide between, like, teacher, you know, like, educator and family. Like, those should have been the same, you know? That's how it is in my community. And in Brazil, we call all our teachers aunt, you know, tia, like, and there is this idea of, like, the community educating the child. And I think, in a way, this is bringing that back.
Yeah.
That's right.
Michelle, why don't you share your experience, especially as a student and a college student at that? Like, I was like psyched for independence in college, and this is...
Well, prior to this whole thing, I had never taken any online class in my life.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's never happened. I've had the option to do that, but I didn't want to do that. So now that I don't have the option, I don't like it because that interaction with the professor is gone. Most of our professors don't even require cameras to be on. You don't know what that student is doing.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're even paying attention. You don't know if they're in front of the computer at all. But I think it comes down to the responsibility of the student too. You have to take your own responsibility to, like, pay attention. You're a student. No one's responsible for you. You have to be responsible for yourself.
Okay, so you brought up several great points. One that stood out being, like, technology, right? Kind of love-hate relationship, especially as we're, like, relegated to it, and then encountering, you know, some of the same deficits, you know, that we would in the classroom.
Right.
But, like, can you all speak to maybe that hurdle or the lift, like the technological kind of component, because that really kind of changes the game and either can help or hurt, you know, certain learning styles.
So I think the one of the barriers that we're breaking down is technology. The unknown of when we launch this app. Is it going to work? Is it going to crash? Are students going to understand it? The biggest part of the frustration comes from not understanding how to navigate. Once you get in there, you're fine. So I think the biggest part is taking a step back and saying, what do we need to do to make sure our parents are equipped to be the partners in education that we need them to be, so that they don't get so frustrated with the technology that they stop and put a barrier up to their learning.
Anna, I mean, do you care to add to that as well?
No, for sure. As a 6th grade team, we started pulling families to come to school and sit outside and have, like, tech boot camp. There's also just this idea of, like, the Chromebooks represented, like, this is an extra thing, and now it is the thing. And that's, like, its own kind of mental shift. It's almost like we flip-flopped, like, the tactile stuff is now extra, but it's still, like, so important.
So then how do you compensate for that, you know, as it pertains to the grade? Because there is that line where it's like, if any generation was equipped to integrate technology, like, this is the one, right? So it's like, you know, kind of what you're doing.
I think this is where the shift in education is happening and needs to continue to happen. We have been so compliance driven with tasks and get it done and turn it in and completion that we have lost the peace and the love of learning. So I want students to not look into this virtual learning and look at, this is how many I need to complete. I know I want you to stop. I want you to learn. I want you to engage. If you don't understand it, the beauty of virtual learning is I can watch that again. I didn't miss that. I can go watch that later when I'm in a better state of mind. And so and that's a shift on the teacher side, on the parent side, and the student side. We got to get away from compliance. So what, you turned in 5 things this week? So what? What did you learn? And so we need to make a shift to learning and engaging in learning and not completion of assignments. And I think that is where some of the struggle right now is what do we have to do? How long do we have to be on? We missed the Zoom. So what? When you did watch it, tell me what you learned. That's a shift in thinking, because even as teachers, we're so used to, here's the answer key and here's what you turned in. Well, you know what? An answer key and a test doesn't necessarily really show the depth of my learning.
Right.
Because I created the test. Did I create a space on that test that tells me, that says, tell me something you learned that I didn't ask about?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think as this is happening, this is allowing us to look at education differently.
Yeah.
And how are we engaging in learning? Our kids know how to be compliant. Compliance is easy.
Yeah.
Learning is hard.
Yeah.
I want to add
That's real.
one more thing.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, I asked my kids to write goals, you know, and this year I made it a rule that your goal cannot be, I want to pass the 6th grade.
Yeah.
Because it's the compliance mentality.
Right.
Let's actually think about what are the things that you want. Like, what do you want to learn about? What do you want to grow in?
I have to agree with you when it comes to engaging in the classrooms. From what I've seen or what the professors have seen, most people are not engaging in the classrooms. But the technology side, I think it's really not that complicated or complex for people to figure out. When it comes down to exams, that's where things get complicated. We use this software, called Proctorial. What it basically do is it records what's going on in your computer and it records everything around you. But the downside is if it hears any noise, it flags things to the professor. What most of us are concerned with is what are those technology actually doing besides looking in our computers? Are they recording anything? Are they keeping records of any of your informations on your computer that you don't know about? You can't disable it when you're not using it.
Yeah.
You can't disable it. I think that's the downside of the technology of this during this time.
So I understand the initial reason behind the software to track if there's noise.
Yeah.
But this goes back to thinking differently about
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
Because why do I care how you find the answer? In life and in education, we should be showing people and teaching people, I don't care how you get the answer. I care that you know how to get to the resources to get the answer. So every test, in my opinion, should be open book. We should be teaching generations, students from pre-K to adults. It's not about knowing the answer and memorizing and repeating it back. It's about, do you know where to find it? That's what life is about. If you ask me a question and I don't know, but I know how to get it, I'm more powerful than if I just repeated what somebody told me.
Yeah.
And so the software was created in their minds to make sure you didn't cheat, make sure you get the score. But I, as an educator, feel like, hey, if you know where to find the answer, go get it. Like, what?
Where were you when I was like,
And then we have pre-K.
Yeah.
So we have pre-K through 12. And so a lot of this we've talked about, like the secondary starting at 6th grade to college. Now we're asking them to click links.
Yeah.
We're asking them to engage in Zoom.
Yeah.
And guess what? They can do it, but they can't be in front of that computer all day long. That is just not
no one
healthy.
should be in front
They
of that
should be
computer.
learning through play.
Yeah.
Through exploring.
Yes.
We should make this fun, and that's what we're trying to do, is make learning fun
Yeah.
and not so compliance driven.
Yeah.
Teachers have to understand that, and parents have to, because parents
Yeah.
are looking for the check the box, and it's like there's no box to check.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, wait a second, how do they get the points for this? We got to start making that shift, and
Yeah.
it's going to happen slowly.
Oh man, you all are bringing up so many amazing points that I want to explore. Autonomy. Okay, how do we build that with all the pivots that we're kind of having to make? Accessibility, how are we compensating for inequities, disabilities? I have strong concerns about the more vulnerable members of our community.
Absolutely. So I know at Tulsa Public Schools, we made it a point to provide devices for every single student. We knew that there were families without devices. On top of adding the device, that does nothing if you don't have the Wi-Fi access. So on top of that, making sure that every family that needed it had a Wi-Fi device in order to complete their work. But that's just the start.
Yeah.
That's just the start. So our first step was to make sure that we close the gap in regards to technology, and making sure that everybody had the devices that they need. In regards to our most vulnerable population, we're taking steps, we're reaching out. Part of what we talked about in being a partnership is we can run data, and data can put you in a vulnerable block.
Yeah.
Or it could not because certain checks weren't hit.
Right.
We need the parents to speak up and to speak out and say, hey, I need help. My student is over here struggling. And when it comes to serving our special students, our ESS students, making sure we go above and beyond, understanding that we have to provide resources to our most vulnerable families so that they don't get further and further behind. Not just talking about technology, we have made sure that the families still can get food.
Yeah.
We're not in school, but you can still come get breakfast, you can still come get lunch. Whatever you need, we need to provide, because we have found in the last, year, we're so much more than just teaching.
Yes.
We're providing meals, we're providing childcare, we're providing social and emotional supports, we're providing therapy, counseling.
Yes.
And so I can speak for Tulsa Public Schools in regards to we are looking at every one of those needs and making sure we are filling the gap.
Yeah.
And if you're a parent out there, we haven't, reach out to us.
Yeah.
Reach out to us and say, this is what I need. And I can guarantee you a team of district people, a team of school people are going to rally around and are going to support you and your family.
Going back to that compliance aspect, when I think about my time in 2 years in a Tulsa public school, the number one reason why parents were ever in the building was because their kid was in trouble.
That's right.
Right? And it's like, no news is good news.
Yeah.
Right? So like, families are not necessarily, the messaging in our schools is not like, hey, we're here to help. It's like, hey, we're here to punish, right? And so if you're not hearing from us, that means your kid is like A-okay. So how many times did someone come from parent-teacher conferences and it's like their kid is just like not doing well in class because geography is hard and they're fine. They're just like struggling, you know, like it's hard concepts. And they'd be like, well, but I never, you know, like I didn't know, or like, are they cutting up the class? And I'm like, no, they're fine. They're just learning. Like their mastery is low because it's supposed to be, because they've never gotten, and like they likely have never gotten a social studies education until junior high school.
Right.
I just think about like on, you know, my list, right, of like families that I'm reaching out to, and my messaging has been like, no, we are here for you, and like we are here to support, you know, going back to like what we were saying about our ESS students, our ELL students, also, our families that speak other languages at home, like that's my family. My principal allowed me to do a training to our teachers on like how to support English language learners, but we're still learning so much. So relationship, it's like, do I acknowledge you as a human being even if you don't speak my language? Am I giving you opportunities to connect with other students and learn from other students? And that's what troubles me about this whole thing, is like, I think I'm doing an okay job of building relationships with kids, but we are so behind on kids building relationships with each other.
Michelle, do you have anything to speak to in terms of like any vulnerabilities for yourself as a student, or maybe even you recognize in your peers that may be kind of exacerbated by
it comes to language, especially the Chinese, the international students that are at TU. In person, I've seen that they have classes that help teach them English, but there's just not much focus on it. Teacher professors don't really take the time to explain. I feel for my peers, the international students, where they don't speak English very well, and I'm not sure how they're doing. So I feel like they have to step up and do better work at helping them when they come here, not just the Chinese, but any international student on campus. Chinese are by Chinese. You don't really see that much interactions with American students. You're gonna learn how to speak by interacting with people every single day. So if it's just by classes, that's not gonna work. So TU has to do a better job at creating an environment where people are gonna meet each other, which I don't think has been there. There's no activity, or there's nothing that create that environment where international student has to come with American students, and they advertise themselves a diverse community that see you, but there's not much anything like that.
So, social skills, right? College is a hell of a social experiment. In my experience, how has the social aspect been impacted, or what's your experience been in these strange times?
Well, we try to meet again online soon. I think even before the COVID, there was not really much, and the university is not doing much to create that environment.
Socializing though, like that's so important, super vital. Like I think about learning, right? My academic learning and my social learning equally important, like equally essential in a well-rounded like development.
Yeah.
How do we compensate for a lack of a playground, or a lack of a social setting where our students can navigate these social mores in and out of the classroom?
Well, this is where we have to get creative. This particular generation, and this is my opinion, was antisocial to start with, but it was by choice. It was not by force. Yeah, they were like this by choice.
Yeah.
Now it's you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so we, as far as in the education realm, we have to get more creative of creating opportunities for them to engage that has nothing to do with the curriculum. For like our elementary, we have to find play dates that we can properly social distance if we're going to get together, or that we can do online. We have to continue to look and find and research very interesting virtual field trips.
Yeah.
We have to connect and learn to connect and get them together with each other, because they are missing that piece. That is so huge in learning.
Yeah.
That's a piece that you don't get a grade for. You don't get a grade for how to make friends, how to share.
Yeah.
We have to create these opportunities, and that's something that we're working on. Our pre-Ks, we're gonna all get together and we're gonna do a play date Zoom. But that's not just on the student side. It's on the adult side also. We did an after-hour happy hour. So we started a Zoom happy hour where you came and you had your drink and we were on Zoom and we talked, people played their guitar, whatever it was. It created an environment that you're like, okay, I know I'm alone, but I don't feel alone. And so what we've tried to do on the virtual academy side is we've started with the teachers. So twice a week we have there's no work talk allowed. And we get on Zoom and we just eat and we talk, because we have to build relationships with each other so that I can help you if you have a question. Now we need to shift to our students, and we need to say, hey, all of the 5th graders, we're going to do a school-wide Zoom, or we're going to go here, we're going to go there. We have to create those connections, and I think this is going to force us to look at more innovative ways to bring students together, because the social part of learning, the social part of being a human, is something that is very important in your development, regardless of what stage you're at. So now we go to asking students, have you checked in on one of your classmates? Have you checked in on one of your teachers? Because we have a responsibility as humans to make sure nobody gets lost in not having connection.
Anna.
I mean, I'm struggling with that in my own life, right? How do I keep in touch with my friends? Almost all my friends are teachers, so we're all like just trying to survive. I think like what you were saying about creating opportunities, that's the right wording, because as teachers, we again are planners, and we think that we can like make things happen, and actually we just need to create the space. I create a learning environment so my kids can learn. I don't like actively hold someone's pencil and make them learn, right? That's not possible. So that's kind of what I am walking into this with, is this idea like I just want to create opportunities. So every day during lunch, there's one of the 6th grade teachers takes on lunch bunch, and like kids have half an hour to just come on and we play Pictionary or we talk. Sometimes I'll turn off my camera and my microphone and be like, oh, I have to go somewhere, but I'm actually just sitting there and I'm watching the kids interact, and they're so cute. I also think like it is absolutely possible to embed in your curriculum those kind of opportunities,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So like these first 12 weeks for me are all, the unit is called the self. Like all they're doing is reflecting on themselves, and they have to ask questions about themselves. They have to submit 3 to 5 questions they want to learn about themselves every single week. Based on what we did this week, what do you want to learn about yourself? Support each other through tech, support
That's
each
right.
other
Yeah.
in whatever. I can't be the one with the answers all the time. I can't be the helper. So like, how can I empower my students to help
That's
each
right.
other,
Yeah.
right? How can we break down these myths of like what it means to really connect? Like TU's got to do better, or maybe it's like the student associations
They
do
gotta
better. Like
they know they have to do better at it, and but they're not doing anything.
that's what I don't get about like higher education. You know, like
I feel like it's
what-
all professional. It's too professional, or it's too like structured and planned. And we just do this and we move on. We're here for our degree and just we.
I went to liberal arts school, so I had all the freedom in the world, right? He was like, just do the bare minimum to get a degree. I don't care what it is, and then go and take whatever classes you want. He was like,
Yeah.
go and learn. And I also think about, why isn't there like socio-emotional learning emphasis in college?
Right. Any job that asks you for your transcript, that's not a job you want to work for anyway.
That part.
All you got to do is get the degree. Now, that being said, I want to say that to my student that's in high school, but because college is not set up like that,
Yeah.
and college bases if she gets money, what college she gets in, her quality of education, on her high school grades
Yeah.
and an SAT. Are we serious?
Yeah.
Here, like, I'm paying you. Does it matter? Does it matter?
Yeah.
And so
And
I
standardized
want to
tests
say
already.
so bad to students now,
Yeah.
pre-K through 12. This is what I would like to say. I would like to say, I just want you to learn.
Yeah.
I just want you to learn. And if that learning took on a C, but you learned, that's what matters most. But I have a hard time saying that when I have a college saying you need this GPA to get in. And so I did apologize to I have a freshman in college now, and I was like, I am so sorry. I never went back as a parent. I always looked at the grade. I'm like, why do you have a C in this class? You need to get it up. I never once said to my student, tell me what you learned.
Yeah.
I never once, as a teacher, when I gave the test back, I never once thought, you know what? She got there were 50 questions. You only got 25 right. But you know what? Last test, you only got 12 right. I never looked at it like that. I also never did this as a teacher, and this will shake education up. I never went back and changed the grade. So let's say if we started with addition, right? And you bombed the test on addition, you just didn't do well. Now we're all the way in division, so and you're doing well. So if you can do division, you can do
Yeah.
addition.
I never went back and
Cumulative, yeah.
changed the scores in their grade from addition. That stayed in F. The
Even
grade book
mastered
does not
it, yeah.
show progress in learning, so our kids get stuck in a rut with grades, and they start looking at grades for what defines them, and it is not a grade that defines you. It's how you're growing and you're learning.
In college, it's like you get 2 grades a
Yeah.
semester.
Yeah.
I arrived at Yale, took philosophy classes because I was excited about learning, and all of a sudden I'm failing. And I was like, well, I guess I really don't belong here. When actually the message in my head should have been like, oh, you didn't know this, now you know a little bit more, and
right.
hopefully next time you'll know more,
Yeah.
right? But the college system is not necessarily set up for that because it's 2 grades, and they
Yeah.
average out.
Seems like standardized testing just try to test your ability to remember facts
Yeah,
or
that's
to
right.
like
Great.
recite facts back. I've taken a lot of classes and I don't remember anything from those things.
Same.
I think standardized testing the college thing is really bad because it does not really measure how much a student knows or how smart they are.
Our entire universe is based around elementary school, secondary, and then you got to go to college. Wait a second. Wait a second. We have missed a whole career field
Yeah.
that our students not only will be debt free from, but will come out having an actual skill, will be able to give back to the community, and guess what? Make more money than a college graduate who
Yeah.
has to go get a job that has nothing to do with their degree.
Yeah.
And so why aren't we pushing more of the career focus for our students instead of being successful after high school and getting into university, that does not define success at all. And so we need to start as educators, we need to start as students, we need to start as parents, looking at the skills and the talents that our students have, and then their passions, and allowing them, investing in them now.
How can each of you best be supported?
Just having those people to remind me, like, you're good, like, you're enough, you know, you're doing what you need to do, and like, you don't have to be everything for everyone. I think that's really the number one thing.
I want understanding, I want grace, I want patience, I want information, I want feedback. And I want us to get out of a compliance mindset. I'm going to say that again. And I want us to understand we're all learning. So as the parents are struggling and learning and the kids are struggling, guess what? Some of our teachers are learning also. And so all of us are learning. This is brand new.
So in these strange times, what gives you hope?
In these strange times. Community gives me hope. I truly am seeing us come together as a community across the board in everything. So I am hopeful that we're going to work together as a collective community to not only stop the spread of COVID-19, but to get on track and get on board with making sure our students, our parents, our teachers, our guardians have what they need to be successful, dip out of the depression and anxiety, and walk with their head up, their shoulders back, and know, hey, we are doing the best we can do.
If there's something that I really hope comes out of this whole situation, is like that we start believing in kids, that we start raising that bar.
But what gives me hope is that I know that people are not stupid, we're not stupid, and there's a ceiling where no matter how bad things go, people are just gonna realize that this can't keep going on. We're gonna have to turn back. And so, like she was saying, people are gonna find that we need like each other, especially to get out of this pandemic. So no matter how bad things go, I know that one day, sooner or later, things are gonna turn back to normal.
Community is key. That's definitely given me hope. This has been an amazing, albeit uncomfortable, experience for all of us, but one where we can really interrogate these systems and really effectively change stuff that just has not been working, right? But has been protected as status quo, right? Thank you. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Michelle. I hope that this has filled your cups a little bit, just being able to really talk about these strange times, these really weird and challenging times. But yeah, we're in this together. We're alone together, and we're together together.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Park can't hide on my sleeve. Park the ride while I please. And it's just getting good. Baby, why would I leave? Baby, why would I leave? Realize what I seen. Everybody got needs. Everybody got needs. What you got on your mind? What I got on my sleeve? In the spot I gotta be. It's a vibe I believe. Inside of my dream. Realize what I seen. Everybody got needs. Everybody got needs. What's a necessity? What's the ingredients that you gon' need in the recipe? World gon' spin around with or without me. I'm moving according effectively.